At the very outset, we thank each and every viewer and subscriber who has been part of our journey in the past year or so, because of whom News Affairs has carried its journey with aplomb. Hello and welcome to News Affairs. The latest defense news doing the round is that 62 years after the 1962 war with China, China has unveiled its sixth generation fighter prototype, while India is dramatically short on 4.5 generation aircraft. So, what is the Ministry of Defense planning now? How is it preparing to counter the Chinese? We shall look at the pace of India's preparation for a possible conflict in future and compare it with that of China. As per the Indian assessment, the PLA Air Force was expected to have close to 50 squadrons by the year 2030, comprising of 4th generation fighters, around 10 squadrons of 5th generation J-20 class aircraft, and early iterations of J-35 equipped with PL-15 beyond visual range missiles, and 5 to 6 squadrons of the H-6 long range bombers. And you know what? The assessment did not have a 6th generation fighter, and China's capability to produce one new aircraft design every 10 to 15 years. Now, in comparison, the Indian Air Force's fighter squadrons are at an all-time low, with the phasing out of aging MiG-21s being pushed back to keep arresting the failing fighter strength. In the best case scenario, the Indian Air Force is expected to have around 32 to 34 fighter squadrons by the year 2030. In 2024, 62 years after the 1962 Chinese War, the Indian Air Force is operating only 31 squadrons, the lowest since the year 1965. One needs to underscore the yawning technological gap vis-à-vis China and the need to plug the gap by immediate acquisition of fighter jets. Over here, one change that the Indian think tank needs to do, and do it faster, is the involvement of the private sector in not only defense manufacturing but in research and development in a massive way. Because unless there is a free flow of funds into the research and development, no big breakthrough can be achieved. That will start bearing results in future and take the burden off our premier institutes like the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, DRDO, and so on. Secondly, this shall lead to quality assurance of our equipment in comparison with the foreign players. That stems from the capabilities and the capacities of the private players to think global and match the best. Let us not underestimate our big ticket players like the Tatas, the Adanis, the Mahindras, the Ambanis, and so on. In the air, China's PLA Air Force is considered to have a total strength of around 3,210 aircraft, which includes 1,232 fighters, 371 dedicated attack aircraft, 224 transport aircraft, 314 trainers, 281 attack helicopters, 911 helicopters, and 112 aircraft maintained for special missions. Compared to this, the Indian Air Force has a strength of only 2,123 aircraft, which includes 538 fighters, 172 dedicated attack aircraft, 250 transport aircraft, 359 trainers, 23 attack helicopters, 722 helicopters, and 77 reserved for special missions. Now let us look at the reasons for this. China's defense budget is 3 times India's budget. Moreover, China produces almost all its weapons and equipment indigenously. This gives it the ability to get more value for money. Just a few days before the Chinese 6th generation fighter jet prototype took social media by storm, the Indian Ministry of Defense set up a high-powered committee to look into the situation. One can only hope that MOD does take the private route in a massive manner, and soon. Let's take a look at another comparative analysis. The light combat aircraft delivery started in the year 2016. In 2024, the Indian Air Force has only 38 aircraft in its fleet. This is in stark contrast to the J-20 Mighty Dragons that entered service in the year 2017, and PLA Air Force already has over 200 fighter jets in its fleet. Their goal is to take the number to 400 by the year 2027 and to 1000 by the year 2035. You can see the stark variation in the numbers, which stems from the fact that humongous amounts have been put into R&D by China, and the results are there for all to see. And this has been done indigenously by China, with no or negligible foreign help. For the time being, the Indian Air Force's existing 4th generation fighter platforms comprising 36 Rafales, around 260 Su-30 MKIs, upgraded Mirage 2000s and MiG-29s, and a growing fleet of LCA Mark 1s may be sufficient for a localized conflict. But if Pakistan, its adversary in the West, opens another front, it will be a rude awakening for India, and the Indian Air Force will find it difficult to execute its critical offensive roles. The acquisition of the 114 MRFA aircraft with high-end 4th generation capability and combat enablers such as AWACS, aerial diffusers, and intelligence surveillance and targeting capabilities could be critical for the Indian Air Force to maintain its combat edge over the PLA Air Force in a two-front scenario. We shall keep our discussion to this point and seek your responses in the comments box. Thanks for watching the video and wishing all our viewers a very happy New Year 2025. Jai Hind!